So what do you say we spend a little time in the garden today? All right, all right, all right. It is cold and it is wet out here in South Georgia. Only supposed to get up to about 45 today. Gonna get down to 31 tonight and the following night. Got about an inch of rain yesterday, so it's kind of too wet to really do anything in the garden. Not gonna dry up probably for another few days. I know some of you up north got hammered by winter storm gale earlier this week. Hope everybody up there is safe and sound. So there's not a whole lot we can do in the garden today, but I got a few things I want to show you and talk about. Got these carrots behind me here. I want to check on those, see how those are coming along. I know they're not ready yet, but I do want to see just how they're doing there. I want to show you a little cover crop comparison test I'm doing that has to do with whether we need to really rake in our cover crops after we seed them, or can we just throw them on top of the ground and they'll germinate just fine that way. So I'm doing a little test with that. I'll show you some kind of early results there. And then I want to talk about some of our plans for our spring garden. I know it's cold out here. It's hard to really think about spring gardening right now. Here we are about a week or so before Christmas, but it's really not that far away. We'll be, you know, in the next month or so, we'll be starting tomatoes and peppers in the greenhouse, getting ready to plant potatoes. So although with this cold weather it seems like it's far away, a lot of these things coming up in spring are not really that far away. And since we're not market gardening anymore, we're going to be doing quite a few things differently this year or this spring than we've done it in the past. So I want to talk about what we're going to be doing different, some kind of plans, things that I want to grow, plots that I want to do different than I've done in past years, and I'll tell you all about that. But first, let's check on these carrots. So right here we've got our two double rows of carrots. We've got 4 varieties planted here: Bolero, Envy, which are both orange varieties. Then we've got Yellowstone, which is a yellow variety obviously, and a purple one called Purple Elite. Things are looking pretty good. They're handling the cold weather well. I have filled in the gaps between those double rows amazingly there. Always good to see that. Shading out any weed growth in between there, and just nice full foliage there. Really dense, thick plantings of carrots there, which is what we like to see. We planted these back in October, which is when we usually try to plant them around here. We overwinter them for a early spring, late winter harvest. And tops are looking good. Been keeping them fed, keeping them watered with that drip there when we're not getting a lot of rain. So let's take a look and see how big these carrots are so far. Now, if you've watched some of my other carrot videos, you know that we don't really believe in thinning carrots. We believe in planting them thick, and then we'll get some big ones, we'll get some little ones. We just kind of let them do their thing, planted real thick like this, and when we harvest them, we can just grab a whole bunch of them and pull them up and get a lot of carrots for a little bit of space in our garden here. Let's see if we can find one to pull up here and check on it. There's one right there. So not super big yet. Got some little baby carrots. Here's another one I pulled earlier. It's a little bigger. So nice little snack there. You could eat that, but it's still going to be another couple months probably. We usually don't start harvesting these guys till late February or so, but well on their way, and they should just keep getting a little longer, a little thicker there, and looks like we're well on our way to a good little carrot harvest. Let's check on these purple ones here while we're out here. Some of these towards the end that aren't quite as crowded may be a little bigger at this point. Let's see what we got right here. Oh yeah, there we go. Getting close to something worth eating and harvesting right there. That's a Purple Elite carrot. Nice color on that. And let's check out the inside of these. They got some nice color on the inside, so you can see the orange color hasn't quite developed on the inside there, but once these guys are ready, they should be a nice little contrast between purple on the outside and orange on the inside. But that's a pretty decent size carrot right there. Another one right there. Really hadn't got as thick as the other one yet, but nice long carrots. And looks like these purple elite ones may be out racing the others to some extent. So we may end up harvesting these guys before we do some of the orange ones. Now let's talk about this little cover crop experiment I'm doing right here. So I've got two plots behind me here. One, that one over there, is about twice the size as this little one right here. That bigger plot, kind of long and skinny plot, is where I had some South Anna butternut back in the spring on into the summer a little bit. Then we planted a cover crop of sunflowers there. Obviously the frost got those, mowed those down, cleaned that up, and we tilled that area. And then this one right here is where we had the smaller plot, where we had our Primus fall sweet corn that we were able to harvest just right before that first frost got it up. And since I harvested that corn, I went and mowed down those stalks, ripped up the drip tape there, and so there's just basically some corn debris left there in that soil. And what I wanted to see here is, for some seeds, for some cover crop seeds, do we have to rake them in? I always have raked them in just because trying to get some good seed to soil contact there. But I wanted to see if I could get some decent germination, if everything would come up and kind of fill in nicely if we just threw them on top of the soil. Now I don't think this would work with every cover crop seed, but I think with some of the smaller seeds it may work pretty well. So I was willing to give it a try. I don't necessarily think it would work with maybe the larger pea cover crop seeds, but it might be worth testing in the future. So this bigger plot here, like I told you, we cleaned it up pretty good and tilled it, and then I had some Frosty Berseem clover seeds, some Impact collard, and some African forage cabbage, and in the fridge there, just leftover cover crop seeds. And I was like, I'm not going to do anything with these plots, so let's just strew some stuff out there, see what happens, keep that ground covered until we're ready to plant something there in spring. So on this plot here, we tilled it, I strewed the seed, and we raked it in. On this little plot here behind me, where we had that corn and there's still a lot of debris in there, I was like, I'm not even going to clean that up. Let me just throw these seeds on top of the soil, not even rake them in, and just see if they come up or not. See if it really just kind of fills this in. And I seeded this probably, I don't know, 6 days or so ago when it was pretty warm out here. And I did that because I had a little window there. I thought I could get things germinated with a little warmer soil temp. And things are just starting to come up. Let me show you the differences between these two. And I think we may have something here as far as, you know, we may be able to skip a step when planting our cover crops. We may not always need to rake them in or cover them in. So I'll show you this one here first. This is the one where we did till it beforehand and then raked it in. And we can see all those little green specks down there. We can see they're starting to come up nicely. This is kind of the way we always do it, and results are as expected. Put a good bit of water on them, you know, for an hour or two every day for 3 or 4 days after planting. And looks like we got a nice stand, really good germination there, and should have really full, dense cover crop in here. I've never mixed clover with anything before. That's another thing I want to try. So it'll be interesting to see how the clover does with those forage cabbage and forage collards. But good results here as expected, because this is the way we always do it. Now this plot obviously looks a lot different than the other one. This one kind of just looks like a mess, because all we did, like I said, we come in here and mowed those stalks down. Some of them just get pushed over. They don't necessarily get chopped up by the mower. You can see those hills are still there from where we had healed that sweet corn. We've got some ruts in there from where we ripped up that drip tape, so not smooth and perfect at all. Got some weeds in there that have kind of died off a little bit with some of those frosts we've had. But, you know, some of these seeds are germinating. Let me go over here and show you. Look right there. So some of this stuff is coming up. I don't know if it's going to come up as well as it did in that plot where we raked it in, but, you know, considering we didn't really have to do anything to this plot, we just kind of left it after we mowed those stalks and pulled up our tape. We're getting some cover crop seeds germinating there. So it's going to be interesting to see if we do get a really good stand here and it just kind of grows up and covers up all this corn debris. We just let all this kind of naturally break down as opposed to raking it out of here and leveling it and cleaning it up. I just wanted to see how it would work, you know, save an extra step or two from having to clean it up. Just let the cover crop come in here, do its thing, let all this stuff break down, and then we can worry about planting something else here in the spring. So gonna be interesting to see the results, how the cover crop density or vegetation looks different from that plot to this plot. And if you've ever tried this, let me know what you thought about it. How did your results turn out? Is just throwing it in this mess right here sufficient, or would you rather do it that way where everything's nice and clean? All right, so now let's talk about a few things that we're already thinking about for the spring. And I got me a little list here so I can kind of remember everything. But the focus around here on our homestead has completely changed since we're not selling our vegetables anymore. We put more of a focus on preserving things and growing some different types of crops, growing more stuff for fun as opposed to just focusing strictly on production. When we were growing to sell everything, or a majority of it, we had to really focus on production. We didn't really have a lot of excess to can and put up and preserve, but now that we're not selling it, we can can stuff, we can grow different things. And so this is going to be the first spring in 4 or 5 years that we haven't been market farming. So a lot of things could change this spring, and I'm started making a little list here of things that I want to do different this spring. One of those is I want to really step up my flower game. I want to take one of these 30 by 35 plots, probably one over there closest to my beehive, and just plant flowers in it. So we're going to be doing some zinnias, some ageratum, probably some celosia, some cosmos, just a whole patch of flowers over there. I'm really looking forward to doing that. They usually provide some nice ground cover and just feed the pollinators, bring in the beneficial insects, and just beautiful to see that in one of these plots in here in the garden. We've always kind of interplanted a row or two of flowers amongst our vegetables, but I don't think I've ever grown just a whole plot of flowers. So I'm looking forward to doing that. Another thing is has to do with our cucurbits, like our squash, our cucumbers, things like that. So in the past we've grown a good bit of summer squash and did like 3 or 4 succession plantings of those because we really counted on that squash production for our market farm. Same thing with cucumbers. We grew a ton of cucumbers because they're easy to grow and we can grow them vertically, and it just provided a lot of vegetables for us to sell. But I don't need to grow that many cucumbers or squash this year, so I'm just going to grow maybe 1 row of summer squash, several different varieties, and just kind of 1 row of cucumbers, and maybe try some new varieties as opposed to just going with those super productive slicers we carry. So since I'm not doing as many squash and cucumbers, I can play around with some more cucurbits that I would like to grow. Cucurbits are probably the toughest thing on my rotation plan because there's so many different cucurbits we can grow. Squash, pumpkins, winter squash, or I should have said summer squash, pumpkins, winter squash, which are kind of sometimes the same as pumpkins, cucumbers, watermelons, gourds, cantaloupes. There's lots of different cucurbits we can plant, and I have to be careful, make sure I don't plant cucurbits in almost every plot, because then it makes it tough for my rotation the following years. But now, since I'm not going to be growing as much summer squash and cucumbers, I can grow some different kind of cucurbits. I can grow more winter squash and pumpkins, and I'm looking forward to doing that. I always plant at least 1 plot, 1 full plot of a particular winter squash variety. Last year we did the South Anna butternut, and that worked really good, but looking forward to trying some others. Probably going to grow some pumpkins. Haven't grown any pumpkins in a while Gonna try some pumpkins this year. Those are just fun to grow and a great food source because we can take that meat and freeze it for later. Also gonna try some watermelons. Now I grew melons for the first time on this homestead last year. I grew some canary melons, planted those in the summer and grew them on into the fall, and they did well. But I've never grown watermelons here because Dad always plants a bunch of watermelons. So I never really needed to grow watermelons. But I'm gonna grow some this year, and I'm gonna try some of these seedless watermelons. And we got 2 varieties that are on the site now, and I haven't really decided which one I'm gonna grow. We got one called Tailgate and one called Summer Breeze. They both look really, really good. I've heard really good things about both of them. So let me know which one you would like to see me grow, the Tailgate or the Summer Breeze. And we're gonna try maybe a whole plot of them, maybe just half a plot. But definitely gonna try some of these seedless watermelons. As far as the nightshades go, peppers, eggplant, and tomatoes, of course, we're gonna grow fewer eggplant. We don't need to grow near as many eggplants since we're not selling them, so maybe just a few plants of those as opposed to several rows, which we've done in the past. So fewer eggplants, definitely fewer peppers. Last year I grew a whole plot, 1,000 square foot of peppers, because once again that's a crop that gives us some nice continual production when we're selling vegetables, but we don't necessarily need that now. So I'm gonna grow fewer pepper plants, more of a variety. I want to really try that roulette heatless habanero we got and some other new varieties. So we're gonna excuse me, gonna grow fewer peppers with more variety there. And then as far as the tomatoes go, I don't really need to grow as many tomatoes this year as I did last year. Now tomatoes weren't ever a big component of our market farm, just because they don't hold as well. It was a little tricky with us doing bag deliveries only once a week. We never really considered tomatoes a huge part of the market farming operation. But we grew a lot of tomatoes last year, and we canned a lot of tomatoes last year, and we've still got plenty in the pantry. So I don't need to can as many this year. I do want to make some more pasta sauce, but not gonna can a ton of tomatoes. As far as the determinants go, one that I grew last year I want to grow again this year is the red snapper. That was an awesome one, really like that. So I'm going to grow that one. And then I got a few new ones on the site I want to try. One called Roadster, Florida 91, which is a older variety but a really good one for the south. And then a new one we added called Southern Ripe. So I'm going to grow those 4 determinants. Probably I'll break up those 4 varieties in just 2 rows or so. 2 short rows here in the dream garden. Not a ton of tomatoes, just enough to make some pasta sauce and maybe, you know, give a few away. And what I'm really going to do different as far as tomatoes is I'm going to plant a lot more of these indeterminate specialty varieties, just to kind of try them out. You know, I know that the production is not going to be the same as the determinants down here, because all tomatoes down here kind of bite the dust mid-July. We can't really grow them throughout the summer. But I do want to try a lot of these new varieties, or varieties that we just started carrying that I heard a lot of good things about. And I wrote down a few of them here. I want to try the Abe Lincoln tomato. I've heard a lot of good things about that. This Kellogg's breakfast tomato, definitely want to give that a try. The German Johnson, we're going to grow a plant or 2 of those. And then I'm going to try this, what I call the Boy series. Going to try the Better Boy. My buddy Jimbo over in Texas swears by that variety, so I'm going to give it a go. And then the Better Boy has a couple cousins, Purple Boy and Lemon Boy, we're going to give a try. And I think I'm going to go with more cages this year as far as supporting the tomatoes and not do as much weave. I'm still going to weave the determinants. I got to figure out a little better system there. I had some issues with my wooden stakes rotting last year, so I'm either going to go all T-posts on my Florida weave or maybe find me some thick pieces of rebar to use, something that is not going to rot in the soil there, because last year some of those wooden stakes rotted and my whole row kind of fell over, caused some issues there. So probably going to use some more cages this year, not do as much weave, but still going to do a little bit of weave. So I'm sure there will be a lot more changes coming along, but those are just a few things I had written down there that I definitely want to do. And if you're making any changes in your garden this year, changing how you grow things or trying new things, definitely let me know in the comments below. I may get some ideas that I want to try myself. So I'm gonna go get back inside and get out of this cold wind here. I hope everybody out there is staying warm during this little cold spell whipping across the country. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give me a big thumbs up. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring that bell so you get notified every time we come out with a new video. And if you did enjoy this one, check out these other 2 videos right here. I think you'll really enjoy those as well. We'll see you guys next time.